Okay, right, if the horse doesn't eat him. Today I'm back at Linda Blackford's Rackingford Stables with Henry Moore, who's a work rider and aspiring jockey, having ridden in point to points. Henry, can you tell us how old you are? How long have you been working in racing?
Yeah, I'm 18. I suppose this is the first full season, full time I've been working in racing. I did A levels because that seemed to be the right thing at the time, and I rode out at Laura Hurley's for a bit because she's only 5 minutes up the road from where I live, and then I worked for Victor Dartnell a bit in the summer between my 2 years A levels, but this would be my first full-time job in racing.
So did you actually finish your A levels?
I did.
What did you do?
I did history, geography, and maths, but some of them were the day after riding at Bratton Down, so they did go well, thankfully.
Okay, so you can get a proper job if you ever need to after all
Yeah.
this. So what are you've been in the game for then a year working full time, so what's the best and worst aspects of it?
I suppose the best aspects is obviously the riding. That's what I've always loved from a young age, and particularly pointing. If you ride well in a point to point and finish as in as good a position as you think the horse could have in the race, then it's a good feeling, whether you win or you're third or sixth or whatever's easiest, whatever's best. And then the worst would probably be, I suppose everyone says the weather in Devon. It can get fairly bleak sometimes, but
We're looking at it now, aren't we? Because if this actually comes down like it looks like it's going to, we might finish this indoors. So do you come from a horsey background?
I do. I'm very lucky in that respect. My parents have always had horses. Dad rode point to pointing in the southeast when he was younger, and I've grown up hunting around Devon and Somerset all my life. So I've been with horses the whole time, which is probably a good thing.
So have you relocated to the southwest at some point?
Not recently. I've always lived in the southwest. I grew up. First year of my life, I lived in Exford, and then last 17 years have been in Oakford, just 10 minutes from here. So.
Okay, so have you been interested in horses and racing all your life because of that?
Yeah. No. So every Saturday the racing would be on the telly, and midweek, and most of the conversation would be about racing at home. So I've always had a keen interest.
So when did you first actually sit on a horse?
I sat on a horse. If it didn't eat me, I sat on a horse before I could walk. I would sat on a horse. We've been very lucky. We've had quite a few nice ex-race horses at home, so I would have been on them before I could do a lot, really.
So you've gone from being on a horse before you could walk to now you've actually ridden in point to points, and you work ride. How many point to points have you ridden in?
7 now. I had my first ride this season last Sunday at Babby Rings in the Maiden, which went well. It was on this fellow who I'm lucky enough to ride for Mum and Dad, but he finished 6th. He'll probably come on for the run, and track where he can get a breather. He should improve again, because he came 2nd at Bratton Down twice at the end of last year, so he's knocking on the door.
Okay, how were you fairly inexperienced? So how do the other jockeys treat you when you sort of going out to ride?
My experience has been very, very positive. I've been very lucky to have a lot of help. Martin McIntyre, who rode another horse in the yard, Steel Express, last year, and won on him a couple of times. He's helped me a lot, going out to ride and chatting away. And to be fair, everyone in the weighing room that I've spoken to has been very happy to talk. And walking into the weighing room last Sunday wasn't daunting in any way. Everyone's very friendly.
Okay, and any particular jockeys that you admire?
I suppose I'd have to say Sean Houlihan, because he comes in and schools here, and he's done a lot of schooling with me, and would always sit down afterwards and have a look at the video and tell me what I could have done, this fence, if the horse shortened, if I could have been further back, get my weight back, all those kinds of things. He's been very helpful.
Does riding work really prepare you for riding in a race?
No, not really. Schooling, obviously, the more schooling you do, the better, and you've got to be as best prepared as you can be. So to say it doesn't have any effect is wrong. But I don't think anything will pay for it. It all feels as if it's going very fast, particularly in your first ride. And most people, including me, will miss the start a bit in their first ride. And then if you're at the back of the race and you're not up in the race, it can feel very fast, and you're trying to work out what's happening really. But I didn't really. It's the fastest 7 minutes of my life, I suppose.
Have you ridden horses in point to points that you've never ridden before at home? Are you always familiar with them?
No, I'm lucky so far. I've always ridden them at home and schooled them. So, I mean, this fella, we hadn't schooled over fences because he could have a look around a bit. So we didn't really want anything to happen, and him to scare himself. So he hadn't schooled over fences, but we'd schooled him plenty on the fixed brush, smaller fence on the gallops. So I've been lucky in that regard.
And how does it feel when, especially as a young, relatively inexperienced jockey, and you're out there with the likes of Will Biddick and people? I mean, how does it feel to be in a race? Is it sort of scary? Is it exhilarating? Is it exciting? A bit of each? Or you don't really remember until after?
I mean, it's exciting. Of course, it is. The people you've maybe watched. I would have gone to Bratton a lot when I was younger, and you'd always see Will Biddick, winning a close finish and obviously looking very good, and those sort of people, Josh Newman, but riding against them, they're not going to give you any room, but you wouldn't expect them to. So I wouldn't say I have strong views either way about it, really.
Okay, you mentioned the weighing room, but for anyone that's not been to a point, the weighing room is probably a tent or a barn or something.
Or
you
back of a lorry.
Yeah, you haven't got all the luxuries, so you have to be pretty tough to ride in, especially if you're going to go places in January and February.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's everyone working in racing will be riding out every day of the week, every day of the year, or most days anyway. So the weather's not going to be any different there to in a barn at Buckfastleigh.
All right, but I mean, there is a danger when you go into riding in a race. So is that at the back of your mind, or do you block it out, or do you just have confidence that nothing's going to happen?
I think you can't think about it when you're riding, because if you ride thinking about that, you'll end up sitting back too much, and if you're not decisive going into the fence, that's when the horse is going to make the mistake. He's going to guess and then turn turtle, and that's when you're more likely to get injured if you're thinking about it. I've always felt.
Okay, now you're working at the moment here with Linda Blackford. She was a top rider, top lady rider in the Southwest. Has she given you much advice?
Oh, definitely. I've learned the most I've learned anywhere. Been here. I rode out here when I could with school all last year as well, because that was my first season pointing, and I've changed my riding a lot. I sometimes look back at the videos of me before he came here, and it's not pretty to watch, but now fingers crossed it's going very well, and particularly just getting your weight back and lower to the saddle, everything just getting tighter and looking more like the real deal. But having people like Sean Houlihan come in as well and give you advice, and watching you next to them schooling, you seem want to look like them, not not agricultural, but no, I've learned a huge amount. I've been very very lucky to have had that happen, really.
So you say about watching videos back. So if you're watching this video back in 5 years' time, where would you like to be, and what would you like to be doing?
I'd have liked to win a fair few winners pointing, and if I ended up progressing to ride on the track, that would be obviously brilliant. So yeah, as I see myself, as a rider. So hopefully I'll still be good enough to be still doing it in 5 years and have some success along the way. That'd be
so your ultimate aim would to be a jockey under rules and be Tony McCoy.
You have to aim high if you're going to get anywhere, don't you? So yeah, that would be the aim ideally. But
brilliant, absolutely. Well, Henry Moore, thanks very much, mate.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.